You look at a kid glued to a phone and your brain goes, "This can't be good." It feels obvious, like you're watching something go wrong in real time. But here's the thing. Research shows a weird pattern. The tech you didn't grow up with always feels more corrupting than the tech you did. Psychologists call this a moral panic loop. And it's not just young people these days. It's a bias your mind runs to protect you from the unknown. So let's name it, and then turn the fear down on purpose. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Have you ever noticed how the stuff kids do online doesn't just look annoying to you, it looks risky, like it's doing damage? You're not only thinking, "That's dumb," you're thinking, "That's dangerous." And the speed of that jump matters, because you grew up with gaps. Real gaps. Quiet time. Bored time. You waited for a ride. You waited for a call. You waited for a letter. Even fun had edges. The store closed. The show ended. Your friend had to go home. Think about what that actually means. Your brain learned the world has limits, and those limits trained your executive function. That's the part that helps you hold back, plan, and ride out a feeling without fixing it right away. When nothing happened for an hour, you didn't die. You just lived. You got used to the mild itch of now what? Now you watch a 12-year-old with a pocket device that never runs out. Never runs out of people. Never runs out of noise. Never runs out of little hits of novelty. And your threat system lights up because endless is not a setting you grew up with. So you do risk math. Normal human risk math. But you're doing it with bad inputs. You don't have personal history with this tool. You don't have a felt sense of how it sits inside a day or a week or a life. You can't picture the off switch because you didn't grow up building one. And your brain hates missing context. When it can't predict, it protects. It starts filling in the blank with the worst case story, because that's what kept humans alive for a long time. If you can't tell whether the rustle in the bushes is wind or an animal, you assume animal. That bias is old. It's not a character flaw. Psychologists call this an evolutionary mismatch. That just means your brain hardware was built for one world, and now it's trying to run in another. Your social brain evolved for small groups, face-to-face cues, tone, eye contact, pauses. Your mirror neurons pick up tiny signals from a real person in front of you. And that's how you know if you're safe, or liked, or crossing a line. Online, a lot of those signals vanish. And then social comparison theory kicks in harder because you're always ranking yourself with what you can see. Not your whole town, not your class, the whole feed, the highlight reel, the best angle, the best day. Now drop back into your own memory for a second. You get home. You drop your bag. You eat something without thinking too hard. You turn on the TV and it's whatever is on. You do homework. You call a friend on the landline and someone's parent might pick up first. One channel, one call, one awkward goodbye. And then it ends. That ending mattered. The end was a built-in reset. Your nervous system got a clean break. Your attention came back to the room. You stared at the wall. You played with the dog. You heard your own thoughts. This wasn't boring. It was a recovery mode you didn't even know you were using. So when you look at a kid scrolling at midnight, it hits a deep nerve. Not because you're grumpy, not because you hate fun. It's because your brain reads no ending as no safety. Your internal locus of control, that sense that you can steer your own life, starts to feel weaker when the tool looks like it can steer you. And yes, some things really can go wrong now. Sleep gets wrecked when light and alerts keep the brain on standby. A lot of apps are built with addiction-like design, not drugs, but the same loop of cue, craving, reward. And communication gets more de-individuated, meaning people say cruel stuff because they don't see a face, and their empathy doesn't fully turn on. But here's the clean takeaway. The reason you assume today's tech is uniquely dangerous isn't that you're watching the end of humanity. You're watching your brain react to a tool you didn't train on. Which brings us to the part that messes with your head a little. The exact same brain that warns you is also the brain that forgets what your parents feared about you. There's something weird you can test in 10 seconds. Think of a tech you didn't have as a kid, a thing that showed up after you were already you. Notice how fast your mind turns it into a villain. You don't even mean to do it. You just feel that little flash of, that's not real life. Or, that's going to mess them up. The story writes itself. Now let's break down why. Research shows that when people get asked to rate all kinds of stuff as corrupting to youth, they don't just point at the obviously harmful things. They also point at whatever feels new. Social media, smartphones. And then, in the same list, you'll see older stuff that used to scare adults too, like radio, novels, even dancing. People swear they're judging based on facts. They'll say they're just being realistic. But here's the thing. The pattern is blunt. The newer the thing is, the more people tag it as corrupting, even when the older stuff once got the same kind of panic. And it gets even stranger. It's not only about being older, it's about what you were exposed to when your brain was still wiring itself. If you didn't grow up with a tech, you rate it as more dangerous. If you did grow up with it, you rate it as less dangerous. Same person, different tech. That's not wisdom. That's your prediction system working off your own timeline. Think about what that actually means. Your brain uses personal history as data. It asks, do I know how this ends? If the answer is no, your threat signal climbs. If the answer is yes, it chills out, even if the thing is still kind of messy. In the exposure research, the more someone lacked childhood context for a tech, the more they saw it as corrupting. And that effect still shows up even when you control for age and education. So it's not just, older people don't get it. It's, the mind treats unfamiliar change like a moral hazard. There's also another layer. Older people tend to remember their own past as more clean, more calm, more normal. Psychologists call this a kind of rosy recall. Your teen years get edited into a simpler story. Less chaos, less risk, more meaning. So when today looks loud and fast, your brain reaches for a cause, and new tech is sitting right there. Easy to blame. Make it concrete. Think about it. You're 13 and you're in the living room. MTV is on. Someone says it's melting your brain. You're on a console game for 2 hours. Someone says it's training you to be violent. You open a chat room. Someone says you're talking to strangers who want to hurt you. Some of that was dumb. Some of that was real. But you lived through it. You learned the rules. You learned when it got weird. You learned how to log off, or at least how to hide it. Your system updated because you got exposure. Now flip it back onto you. You see TikTok. You see group chats that never stop. You see kids trading status all day long with likes and streaks and little inside jokes you can't read. And because you don't have the lived memory of adapting to it, you don't picture norms forming. You picture chaos. You picture a kid being swallowed by it because your brain can't picture a stable ending. But here's the twist. The study found a simple intervention. When people get reminded of what they did have growing up, their fear about today's tech drops. Not because the tech is harmless, because the mind stops treating it like an alien threat and starts treating it like a new version of an old pattern. This wasn't you being soft. It was your brain doing what brains do. Familiarity lowers the threat signal. Not in a magical way, in a basic way. Your prediction system finally has a reference point. So now you've got a tool. Before you say this is ruining kids, you ask, what was the version of this that adults swore would ruin me? So the final move is simple. Treat your fear like a signal, not a verdict. Most of the time, the signal just means, I don't have context, not, the world is ending. Next time you feel that spike, do the reset on purpose. Name the moral panic loop. Pull up your own dangerous tech. Then look for the real narrow risks you can act on, like sleep, time limits, and how people talk when no one sees a face. Drop a comment and share the tech adults panicked about. Hit like and subscribe because we dive deep into psychology that actually explains how your mind works.